Suda51 and Grasshoppeer Manufacturing are known for some very weird games and showing scantily clad women. Well, I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I am gonna actually make a hard stance against the ogling of the pretty girls for once, and focus on 3 hidden gems you probably didn't know about by Suda51 and Grasshoppeer Games.
Second Opinion Games.
Suda51's very first game was Fire Pro Wrestling 3 for the Super Famicom, and it actually had another version that came out a bit later. What you're seeing here is Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Final Bout. It's essentially the same game, only everyone is unlocked right off the start of the game, so you don't have to fiddle around playing through the game multiple times to unlock the different characters. Supposedly, it's also a little bit easier. Now, this is still a very finicky game, and it's probably because of the grappling system. If you played a modern Super Fire Pro Wrestling game, well, then you're gonna know that there is some audio cues to tell you when to do your button presses, and even stomping the feet and locking up in general. In Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3, well, you just lock up, so trying to figure out when you're supposed to press the button is very difficult here. So I really can't stand behind this game in general because of this reason. But the more time you put into the game, the more you will figure it out. So make sure you have a friend that will jump into the game with you so you can build up your skills slowly over time. You have a light, medium, and strong attack, and the idea is that you start off with the light moves and work your way up to the stronger ones. If you try to do something too big too early, well, chances are it's gonna be turned around on you and you're gonna get a beat down because of it. That's also why there is no stamina bar or no health bar in this game as well, because now you have to figure out how much you beat your own opponent down. I actually like this feature a whole lot, so I can appreciate what they did here compared to other fighting games where you could clearly see where you're at in the match. Of course, it never came out here in the States, and that's probably because the lineup. Now, you're going to notice right off the start that Hulk Hogan's in this game, and maybe even Sting and Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, the Legion of Doom, the tag team is here too, and many other people that you're probably going to recognize. Heck, even Ric Flair's in the game. So it seems to be a bit of a ripoff, and that's probably why it stayed in Japan. Probably not the quality had even anything to do with it. There's some tag team matches as well. You could have a quest for the belt, and if you earn the belt in this game, well, I could say you definitely earned it. There's also a Royal Rumble feature, and the ref is just trying to get the heck out of the way because this is total craziness. If you have a multi-tap, I believe you could play up to 4 players here, which would be a great thing to do for Super Nintendo parties way back in the day. Also, you could beat up the ref and knock him out, which is good if you're a dirty cheater and want to do some cheating moves like biting. However, if the ref sees you biting a whole heck of a lot, well, then you're gonna lose because you're gonna be disqualified. So you're gonna have to follow the rules, at least somewhat. The good thing overall here is that both Fire Pro Wrestling 3 and Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Final Bout are actually ridiculously cheap. You could get each one in-box complete for about $11, and that's even with shipping. So even though I can't say it's a super good game, I will say it's worth getting for the price. So knowing now where Suda51 started out, let's see towards the end of the line, where he actually progressed to. Sinem Morax EX for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. It's a story about a time-traveling buffalo that wants to prevent a horrible genocide and the death of his son. It sounds pretty weird so far, but don't let it fool you. It's just a standard bullet hell shooter with a bit of a twist. You don't have a life bar, instead you have a time meter, because everything revolves around time here. Now, at certain stages, you'll actually hear quite a bit of chatter going back and forth between the different characters in the game. And as you play through, you'll see that they're done through the different perspectives, and some of the stages all go on at the exact same time, which is very interesting. Now, I'm not saying there's not one-hit kills here. You're just usually environmental hazards, like falling into molten metal, or not being able to do this one spot with the laser beams right. It actually took me a couple tries before I figured out you're supposed to hide out with the garbage, and that just got a little confusing. Now, you might notice that the game looks beautiful, and that's because it does. The sound effects are also rather satisfying, and picking up power-ups really help you, like the ability to slow down time to dodge through those bullets. However, because your time is also your life, the more you do this, the more you're actually hurting yourself as well. So you really have to manage the two back and forth in order to beat the game. And it's not going to be easy. Now, there's lots of talking animal characters here, so you might think this is a bit of a kiddie game. But no, it's actually rated M for mature. And I thought, well, how mature can a shooter really get? And holy crap, is this game dark. It talks about just the worst amount of stuff between the genocide and what's even worse than genocide, and some creepy, sexual assault things that I really don't want to go into at all. And plenty of swearing to go with all of that. So this one you should probably keep away from the kiddos unless you're playing on the arcade version, and then it strips out all of the dialogue. So you could just play the game without being creeped out and having your skin get up and crawl away. The levels here are all kind of varied as well. The color palettes are really well chosen to complement each section. Whether you're high up in the clouds or down under the ocean, everything looks beautiful. But the bosses are where the game really stands out, because a bullet hell shooter is basically just a fast-paced puzzle game where you have to learn patterns and figure out the best ways to take out your enemies. And one of my favorite enemies is the train boss, because I love me a good train level, and this one does not disappoint. Just constantly moving the camera around through front and back and moving all over the train feels very natural and awesome. And pretty much all of the bosses are like this, so I really gotta say, this is one of the best shooters I've ever played. However, if you pick it up for the Switch, it's like $30, and for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's only about $20, or cheaper if you find it used, which chances are you will, because it's made by Grasshoppeer, and their games seem to get misplaced in the bargain bin quite often, even though they're top quality. But not all of Suda51 and manufacturers' games get a physical release. Some of them get lost in the shuffle of the downloadable content. And that's why I'm going to show you the next game on this list. Black Knight Sword is an action platform game that came out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 in downloadable form only, unfortunately. Now, when you start the game, you might see the cat grass in the very first menu and want to go into that. Well, if you do, you're probably going to see nothing at first, because these are collectibles that you pick up as you work your way through the game. So you could come back to it because it's really odd. odd. And odd is definitely one of the best ways to explain this game. It's dark at first. When you start the game, you're dead, hanging from the ceiling, and you drop down and enchant a suit of armor, and you have a magical sword. As you slash through creatures, you collect their hearts, as in, some of these creatures have many multiple hearts, which you use as the in-game currency to power up your character. You could increase your health bar, or even increase the strength of your weapons, or the little guy that you throw to flip switches. And he can also be used as a weapon himself that's rather powerful and makes short work of some of the bosses in this game. Other than flipping the switches, there is a double jump to help you, and if you hold down and press the jump button, you'll do a backdash, which is very important for taking out many of the enemies in this game. As you progress through it, you'll learn different styles of attack, like a charge attack that has you swing your sword for maximum energy, or a jumping charge attack, which is also good for taking out aerial opponents. But what I really want to focus in on is this crazy art style. Every single character, as you work your way through the game, looks amazing and creepy. It seems to take place on a stage, as if this was all a play. In between levels of the game, there's even different riddles and storyline, and what I like about this game the most is that you never know what is going to happen next. You could be in the sewers one moment, jumping from boat to boat like a Castlevania game, or you could be fighting a giant chicken. Yeah, for real. And then ride the freaking chicken as if it's a bullet hell shooter. Holy crap, I think we just came full circle here, because that's just showing what's to come with the animal shooter stuff from the previous game that I talked about. Holy cow, this is just amazing. So I bet you're thinking, because the gameplay is so tight, people had to have loved this game. Well, think again. The Metacritic score is right around 65, and I'm betting that's because people probably just didn't understand it or give it any type of a chance. Because the more I play this game, the more I love it. The controls are extremely tight, and the weirdness just makes me want to keep on playing just to see what happens next. I really like the idea of using the hearts of your enemies as currency, and the platforming is pitch perfect. And trust me, I'm a guy who really loves platform games. The graphics all look incredible as well. Through and through, this is probably the most hidden gem under Suda 51 and Grasshoppeer Manufacturing's belt. And that's something to really say, because they do a lot of hidden gems. I'm just saying. So overall, I'm going to have to say that any game made by Suda 51 is worth having in some way, shape, or form. In general, most of his games have a lot of flaws, but what usually draws you in is the fact that the story is epic, or that it's just over the top, creepy, weird. You know, like how a lot of people like Tim Burton movies because it just draws you into their worlds? Well, Suda 51 and Grasshoppeer Manufacturing really have the same thing going on. They're world builders. And while I wouldn't want to live in probably any of these worlds, I do like spending some time there, at least in the video game world. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.
It could be over at any moment. Knock on wood.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I had a great time making it, and I even have a trivia question for you. I'm asking you, how tall do you think Suda 51 is? Now, you don't even have to answer me in the comment box down below because I'm going to put it in the description, so just hit that button and scroll down a bit. But don't be afraid to talk to me because I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't already watched it, I have another video of one of Suda 51's hidden games. So please go ahead and watch that and check out some of my other content. And until later, I will see you again, guys.